and gentlemen. Welcome to our webinar. We'll be going on a transformative journey into the heart of digital manufacturing, which we will focus on MES and digitalization. So today we will talk about harnessing the power of MES technologies and how to make an implementation plan, what steps to follow, what goals to achieve so that you will be able to maximize your return of investment and have a successful implementation. So we will start with this quote, which says that digitalization is not a trend, but is the future of manufacturing. We see many companies that are stepping to digitalization and they are starting to make implementation for digital systems. It can be that they start to collect data or execute their orders in shop floor, or they integrate their systems. But all of this is not only a passing trend that you should try to adapt or follow. It's the future of manufacturing because it's providing a manufacturing world where machines communicate seamlessly, where data is used to make decisions in real time, and where every process from shop floor to supply chain to maintenance to operations to transfers operates like a well-orchestrated sequence. It's like every instrument plays its part with precision at correct timing with the right tune. So as we dive deeper to our webinar today, remember these words, that digitalization is not the trend, it's the future of manufacturing. It's the future that promises efficiency, quality, competitiveness, and it's the future that's already here for the ones who embrace it, at least for the ones who have joined the webinar. So this will be our step-by-step guide for harnessing the power of MES and digitalization to achieve manufacturing excellence. As you see here, there are a couple of steps which consist of 9 total steps. And we will start from understanding your current states, finding the pain points, selecting the right solution, and then all the other steps, we will help you in that other processes like to make a POC, to train employees, monitor your performance, and to achieve continuous improvement culture. So all these steps we will explain during the webinar, which we will start from the first one. So here is the first slide where we talk about understanding your current state of your plan. So to understand your current state, you need to identify, you need to conduct a thorough analysis of your current processes. You need to examine every step in your manufacturing process to gain comprehensive understanding on how it operates. You need to identify bottlenecks, redundancies, or areas where improvements are needed. So this can be like packaging area, assembly area, production, or warehouse. So you need to identify where you have your bottlenecks. So to identify these ones, you need to engage with production teams. So it's really important to engage with them because they have the most of the expertise. They are on the shop floor and they are present with day-to-day activities and they know really where the problems are. So that's why you need to listen to their experiences directly from the shop floor. You need to talk with operators, supervisors, so that you will be able to get more expertise and understanding of the pain points. So these pains can be like equipment breakdowns, it can be supply chain delay, or it can be manual data entry error, or it can be lack of insights, it can be delays, or it can be defects that you have in quality. So based on what type of pains you have, you need to direct your goals based on that. So it can happen that you already have some systems, but still you're joining this webinar and you are interested in other solutions, because there are different levels of the MES implementation. So you need to determine what tools you currently have. Maybe you have some MES system, but you only have data collection, but you don't have a connection with sensors. You are not monitoring the anomaly detection. Maybe you are having MES, but it's not connected to ERP. Maybe you need to make integration with ERP so that your work orders are directly read and sent back to the ERP. So it depends on what phase of MES you're having, or maybe you don't have at all. So that's why you need to evaluate your current performance and your current existing systems. So here comes the questions, which is, can you provide a real-time world example on how assessing current manufacturing process leads to significant improvement? So it says, why is it important to assess the current manufacturing process? Why is it important? We have an example, which we had a recent MES implementation. for an automotive manufacturer. And during this assessment phase, we found out that the material handling with an assembly line was a major bottleneck. So we did this assessment and we understood that the workers had to spend excessive time in moving parts from one station to another, and this was causing delays. So this insight allowed us to redesign the workflow and implement the dispatching management module to handle this material transport. So as a result, the production efficiency is improved by around 20%. So it's really important to assess and make analysis of the current manufacturing process, of the current bottlenecks, and of your current issues which are slowing down your production. So once you do this, then you can step to the next step, which is set your goals. So this second slide is about to set your goals. But setting goals is not just about hitting the target, it's about hitting the right target. So in order for you to hit the right target, you need to define these objectives, and they need to be measurable. Like, can it be like reducing the defects, or you are trying to reduce the downtimes, or you want to increase the efficiency, you want to increase utilization, or you want to increase late delivery. So you have to define what you need to, what will be your goal. So it should be by numbers. So once you do this, make sure that you are also aligning it with your business strategies. It should be in harmony with your goals of you and vision and mission of the company, so that it will align with the strategies, you will align with their goals. Make sure also that you prioritize these goals based on the ROI which you will get. It can happen that you may have too much customer complaints, so you need to fix the quality issues first. You may have lots of defects from some different parts of products, so you need to work on quality. Or it can happen that you are having late delivery, so you need to increase your utilization. So you need to check which ones are more important so that you focus on what type of project you need to implement. The other step is important, which says that you need to break down the larger goals into smaller ones. So in order to achieve these milestones more successfully, you need to make smaller plans. So in order to track the progress better and maintain the motivation, you need to make these smaller steps. By this way, you will be able to celebrate also success. For example, if you set up milestones like in every 2 weeks to check some certain KPIs, and you check whether you reach them or not, you will be able to decide on your next step. So once you clear out the previous steps, you will continue on the next step. So make sure that you break down it into smaller goals. Another important feature is that you need to communicate your goals with all your relevant stakeholders. So with the stakeholders, we actually mean different teams which you will include in this MES implementation. You start with the top management, you make sure that they arrange the budget, but you also need to talk with different departments like production, planning, maintenance. It can also be quality, supply chain management. IT is also very important. So you make sure that there is a collective understanding and there is a shared commitment for achieving these goals and these objectives, and every department is aware of all of these goals that you're trying to set. So now we can go to the question which says, how do these smaller milestones contribute to a better project management? So these milestones, actually you should think of them as checkpoints along your journey. And they allow the project managers to track your progress better and to identify the potential roadblocks earlier. And this will help to make necessary adjustments. For example, if a milestone related to reducing your machine downtime, maybe it was 20%, but what you achieved was only 10%. So you missed your consistency. So this shows that you need to make a closer examination of this issue. So in essence, when you go back and make some changes so that you achieve your milestones, then you can continue with the next milestones. So for every step, you need to make sure that you achieve your milestones so that you can continue for all of them, for the next ones. So remember that these smaller milestones, they act as an early warning system. So they ensure that the project stays on track. So
I have a question to you. What it should be the minimum time for the milestone? How we can understand, how we can see the real results in how many days, how it should be. For example, we started, let's say, for the one implementation, then what it should be minimum period to get some result?
So what we are offering also the webinar, the title of the webinar is 90 days. So we are offering this POC, which is for 90 days. So during these 90 days, actually, you can get your results of the milestones. So you should set your milestones for even shorter periods, like for every month, every 2 weeks, or every even 1 week. So you need to make meetings with your management, meetings with the team. So you make sure that you will reach these milestones, let's say every week, so that your total 90 days period is fulfilled with these milestones. So make sure that every week you track your progress by, of course, arranging meetings, doing trainings, which we will discuss in the later steps.
I think we have also one more point. Sometimes the technical part is preparing goals. We also see this, but the management goals are different. So when you start with only with the technical parts targets, in the end, management is not satisfied what they see. That's why for the preparing the goals, management and the team must be agree about the items, what you put inside. Otherwise,
Yes.
this project will be failed, and then everybody will lose their time. And also you will lose your reliability to your partners, because your partners is coming, making a pilot. After that, but our management didn't like this one, and we are preferring another one. This is very wrong. So you have to be agree in the beginning of the implementation with your management. And the best things, when you start a project, your management should join maximum every 2 weeks to your meetings. Otherwise, they will not follow you, and then they will not be behind you. So if they are not behind you, you cannot get what you need. You cannot get what you want in the end.
Yes, thank you for this part. We will talk more details about this, including the top management, in the other next 2 slides. But it's important to state that you have to include, and also it's written here that communication with all departments is important, especially with the top management, because they are the ones who decide what you have to do, what goals you have to do, and you have to align with their decisions. So we can continue to the next slide, which is one of the most important slides. It's about to choose the right solution. So you need to make the right research and select the right solutions for the MES solutions. So first you need to identify what you have in the market. We, of course, know our competitors, and we know that what features you need to look for. But these features, not all of them have. So you need to focus on, do they have integration capabilities? Do they have compatibility with your existing systems? Like you may have old machines, you might have newer machines. So can they make digitalization for all of your production? You also need to check the cost. Is their cost including the training? Is it including also the integration or the implementation? So what type of cost they have, and you need to make a benchmarking for their cost. You also need to evaluate their reputation and what type of support they're giving. Support is really important, whether it is included also in the price or not. So what you see here is some of the features which are important to have big data connectivity, big data platform, like analyzing the stream data, also to have a cloud server, having also Industry 4.0 standards, and ERP integration. But in the next slide, here we are showing some of the more advanced features which you need to check whether they have or not. For example, can they get the data from the PLC or only from the digital I/O signals? Can they digitalize the manual workstations? In one manual workstation, you may also need for multiple workstations. So in manual assembly workstations, normally you have more than one station in one area, and you can put one panel, one hardware, so that more operators which are nearby can use that same panel. So do they have these features so that you can digitalize, which will, of course, reduce your costs too, by using multiple workstations for manual operations or for workstations. Also, you need to check, do they have analyzing of sensors, detecting of anomalies, which helps predictive maintenance module to be active. So can they detect these anomalies by reading the sensor data, analyzing the sensor data, and communicating with the maintenance department. So it's not just to read the sensors and to check minimum maximum levels, but it's also about to generate maintenance orders, to predict the health of the machine, and so on. So sensor data can be used to track production data. It can be used to generate maintenance notifications. It can be used to monitor your quality of your product. So also called as statistical process control. So make sure that you check whether these companies have these features or not. So here, this is a question related to this integration part of the right solution. So it says, can you provide an example on how integration capabilities of a MES solution have enhanced operation efficiency? So in a recent manufacturing company, we had multiple production lines and processes were running independently. So every process, one of them has SCADA system, one of them has old machines. They all have different communication systems, and they are all different departments, let's say. So each department is using its own software, its own tools, and this was very challenging comprehensive view of the entire manufacturing process. So when you implement a MES solution with robust integration capabilities, all manufacturing data from production to machines, quality control systems, it's seamlessly integrated. So with real-time data sharing, it becomes possible to and allows operators and managers to monitor the status of production processes, to monitor the inventory levels, the quality control in one single interface. So it's really important to have communication with the integration, because operators will also not enter data. They will not spend time for data entry. They will confirm directly from the shop floor. So the operator will just get the work orders from ERP, and they will write the work orders back to ERP. So this is very important feature you need to check whether the MES solutions have or not.
Ferhan, I have a question to you. If we categorize the company's size, let's say from medium, small, medium, and then large companies. So based on the company size, also the needs will be changed, I think. What do you think? Like, for example, if I am just looking for solution, MES solution to have better OEE, what I need to do, what kind of data I need, or if I want to some solution also OEE plus all the digitalization plus predictive maintenance and quality analytics, what I need to do?
Yeah, so there are, as we mentioned, different steps of what levels actually you have for the MES implementation. So the basic ones, or even when you start the PLC, it's to get digital signals from machines. So this is very simple one. But the next step, more advanced step, is to also connect to the PLC, which in some cases the PLC can be having a password, or maybe you don't have backup. But there are alternative ways on how to connect to the PLC and get data from PLC. But the next step is also to connect to the sensors. So from the sensors, you can read the data, you can make analysis, and you can predict the anomalies and analyze the trends by every product what you're producing. So there are different levels from basic to advanced, which you can decide on what to implement depending on the size of company, depending on the strategies, goals of the company.
So it means if we just want to obtain OEE reports, we only need some basic digital signals, like what is the machine status, machine right now producing anything or not, like your cycle signals for the machine, and machine running or standby or stop. So these basic three sensors most probably is enough. And if your solution, but beside it, your solution must provide you some hybrid features, like if there is no signals from your machine, so you don't have PLC, then you have to add all these stops reason by manually with your operator. So this is also important for the digitalization part. You don't have all data in your machine. It means you need a solution. This solution also allows you to add scrap manually, to add any kind of stop reason manually, to add rework process manually. So it must contain all these things also as a feature.
Yes. So thank you for the explanation. So now we can continue to the fourth slide, which is to engage the stakeholders. And actually, when we say stakeholders, we don't only mean the shareholders or the investors, but it includes everyone who will be included in this project. So you start from the top management and executives, which includes the CEO, CFO, COO, and other executives who provide strategic direction and who they can allocate resources. They can make high-level decisions about the MES implementation. One of the important team that you need to assemble is for the production team and the operations, because they are responsible for day-to-day activities. So it's important to include them, machine operators, supervisors, quality control personnel. Also, you need to include the IT, the management. So make sure that you assemble a team from different departments. And then you need to organize workshops and talk about its benefits. But when you discuss this, you need to address what concerns you have, and you need to encourage these open discussions, because concerns are not roadblocks, but they are stepping stones for improvement. So the next important feature is also to secure buy-in from top management. We mentioned it a couple of times, because if you don't have a budget, if you don't have objectives from the management, then it's a waste of time to discuss about these things. So it's really important to convince them and to tell them what are the benefits of this type of systems, because they will be also the ones who will use this system. They will need to check the reports, to check the dashboards, to check the KPIs. It will be also even easier for them. So it's really important to have the support of the top management, because they are the ones who will change the direction of this project and make sure that they understand the significance of the MES and digitalization. So the other important part is to communicate consistently about the progress, the achievements, the challenges, and because this will encourage a sense of involvement and ownership. So make sure that you keep everyone in the loop. So here we have another question, which is related to the top management. So what are the benefits of involving top management and executives in the implementation process? So executives have the authority to allocate resources effectively. So that's why it's important to include them and to tell them what is this significance, because they can ensure what is the necessary budget, what is the necessary manpower, the necessary technology, and what investments you need to make for a successful MES implementation. Also, they can play a vital part, because normally doing this type of projects, it gives lots of resistance for the operators, for the other teams. So there is a resistance for change, for adaptation. So the management, they can and make communication so that in the entire organization, there will be less resistance to this type of changes. It's also important to include the top management, because they can hold the project teams accountable for meeting the goals and the timelines, because when you give the responsibility to the project leader, to the production lead, and so on, then the management will ask from them whether they reach their goals or not. So he will keep them accountable. So it's really important to have the top management included in all of these steps which we discussed.
I want to share our real experience. We had a lot of times this experience. The team, production planner team, they are very excited to start the project. Everything is very good in the beginning. So they planned, yeah, IT will join, you will integrate, then it will work. But the IT right now in the companies is kind of the most difficult part, more difficult than your management. First of all, IT is always busy. This is the common response from IT department. Secondly, IT is coming with a lot of security requirements. And IT doesn't have also this kind of knowledge about this kind of platforms. Why you need this? First of all, you have to discuss before you start this kind of project with your IT team. Guys, we need this. Why this is important? IT team is making decision in the end. We understand the program, what you need, but we don't need. We have already one ERP, and this ERP has these modules. It's already working. So all your investment, it will be nothing in the end. This is happening. It's very frequently happening. Another one, IT is telling, we can develop. If you have an IT organization and some the developers inside the company, IT is telling, yeah, we can develop this part. This is one of the wrong thing actually to develop any MES inside your organization, because you will develop by yourself. You have to maintain this product. You have to always hire developers. So your expense is limitless expense. So every month you are paying at least one developer salary. And right now the developer salary for all the countries in the world is quite high. So it's more expensive than product actually, just one developer fee. So you can imagine how many people you need to develop this kind of solution. So first, please talk with your IT, convince them, tell them what you need. After they confirm, then you are okay. Another problem, IT is, if your top management didn't join your process, IT is not giving time to help to your partner for integration, ERP integration. Because if you want to have successful MES solution, you need to integrate to your current ERP. Why do you need this? You need your work orders from your ERP. You cannot create work orders manually. No one will do it. After you execute your plan, you have to push back all these plans. So you have to confirm data in your ERP. So again, you need your IT team. So IT, you have to talk in the beginning with your IT team and with your management team to give task to IT team to support this project. This is our one of the series experience. Most of times it's a big problem actually. Even we are starting the project normally takes 6 months maximum, but because of your IT department, it takes 2 years sometimes, because IT department is not giving any data. They are always busy. Why? Because top management didn't join the process and they are not pushing your IT. This is our real experience actually. Let's continue, Ferhan.
Okay, thanks for all the information. So now we come to the fifth slide, which is the implementation plan. And this is actually a summary and shows an example on what an implementation plan looks like. So as we discussed before, you need to divide it into well-defined smaller phases. So here we have defined it in the first phase, which is about the planning, to understand your current state, to set your goals, to define your objectives, and to conduct this analysis to understand your pain points, and then to find the right MES solution, and then to communicate with the other departments so that you will start implementing some type of POC or project implementation. So during this phase, you are doing the planning. But for the next stage, which is the POC implementation, after you choose the right solution, during the POC implementation, you are defining an area where you will do the POC. So you are not going full scale, but you're just going with 2 or 3 machines. And during this POC, you are making trainings to the operators, identifying what other issues you have so that you can make some improvements. You are also doing some customization, monitoring the data which you are having, also doing integration during this part. So this phase is the really important phase which has its seeds. You will see its seeds in the next oncoming phases. So this is like an adaptation to the full-scale implementations. It's like a preparation during these 3 months. All of your data, all of your orders is integrated so that you have real working system before you go on full scale. But what we mean on full scale on the phase 3, which is month 5 and 8, it's not full scale for the full factory. It's full scale only for the project size, because we define the project as small, medium, and large. So you need to define like 15 workstations or 10 workstations. So you define what will be your first phase of the project. And you will go for full scale after doing this step by step. So during this project implementation, you can ensure that you don't have any problems with the ERP. You are monitoring continuously your data. You're solving any integration issues, and you're really getting data and trying to use it. So the other phases, which is 4 and 5, are related to monitoring your data, getting the benefits of this system, actually. So during the monitoring phase, you define your KPIs, your MES effectiveness. You are able to track by the results that you get. You're regularly measuring them. to check your improvements in productivity, efficiency, quality, because you will be able to track the OEE. You will have historical data. You will know what was it in the present and what is it now, how much you have changed, what is your target, how much you have achieved your target. So based on the feedback of the data, you will be able to direct your changes. So this is a really important phase where you will benefit from all of this data. And the last phase is about continuous improvement, which we will also discuss in separate slides. So you will be able, you need to have weekly meetings and you will need to address these challenges and to discuss the next milestones, what you need to do. So you need to constantly identify new optimization opportunities. So by the data that you get, you have the feedback, and then you will adapt strategies based on the feedback that you get from this data. So here is a question for this part, like what's the significance of assigning clear roles and responsibilities to the team members? Because here we mentioned that you need to allocate resources and define team members and what their roles are. So during this pilot project and implementation plan, it's important to assign project manager, and his role will be to will be responsible for overseeing the entire MES implementation. So they need to ensure that the project stays on track with the budget, with the aligned company's goals, and they need to be responsible of all the milestones. You also need to work with production line, the supervisors. So because as we said that they are day-to-day, they are take part in the day-to-day operations. So you need to also to include them. You need to include the IT team, which Mr. Nuri mentioned that it's really important, and you need to give them roles, ensure that the servers and security and network connectivity is maintained. You also need to include the quality control because one of the digitalization benefits is also to improve the quality results so that it decreases the defects. So that's why it's really important to include also quality. It's important to include the maintenance team because they will also be part in the installation from beginning. And if you have any issues, you need also to include them. It's also important to define who will have responsibility for the trainings. So you need to create these groups for different teams, like team for MES, you need to define and give these trainings. You need to create a team with the APS, so you will have trainings with the APS parts for the maintenance parts separately. So you need to have responsible guys, which will be from every department. That's why it's really important to assign roles and responsibilities to the team members.
I want to share also our experience again for this case. We heard a lot example from our clients. They tried before different solution without pilot. And they, in the end, they said, yes, we digitalized 60%, 70%. Then for the other parts, they are not capable. This is one thing. Secondly, also, I have to tell one more thing. If your MES provider is not supporting or providing hardware part also, this is big risk for you. Because the big chaos coming, if there is a problem for collecting data, MES provider is telling it's not our problem. This is coming, this is because of this hardware. When you connect and when you talk with this hardware provider, they are telling it's not our problem. This is the MES problem. They have bug inside the system. So it is difficult to find who is responsible for these mistakes. This is one thing. Secondly, 3 months pilot is important. Why it's not 1 month? Why it's not 2 months? Because in 3 months, you will have a lot of cases. And then you will see many cases. It's not just one work order. And this machine will have different kind of scenarios. So you will see also when there is a job, if there is no job, when there is a maintenance, if there is no maintenance, when there is a scrap, when there is no scrap. So it's not a common every day for some sector, for example, machinery to have a scrap every day. So that's why it should be a long period to understand, okay, you implement first month, then you have to monitor your performance keys, and then you have to see, these are my problem. Let's see the benefit, how you can see, let's solve this problem, and then let's remeasure and let's trace all this performance again from the beginning, it's getting better or not. So it means trend. You have to see your trend also in first 3 months during the pilots. Another problem, ERP integration. It's not only just one sentence. It will sometimes destroy your project. If you don't know your ERP, and if your IT team doesn't know your ERP, so it will be big chaos for the integration. If you don't integrate to your ERP this solution, so how you will manage this data, what you will do in the end with this data. So these are the other questions. That's why 3 months is quite enough time to understand. But during these 3 months, you have to talk with your MES provider, and you have to analyze, and also you have to invite your top management to meetings to see what you are doing, what kind of benefit will bring this application to your plant. So you have to see the added value first 3 months. After, if you are sure, then continue. It will be more easy, but never start after the pilot for full implementation, because your team will not be ready for this kind of chaos in the beginning. Adaptation is taking time. So you need to go step by step. Repeat installation time to time. 10 installation, 20, and then 10. Work center group by work center group, you can proceed. This is better. And you have to always monitor and then see the optimization after you put one installation. So continuous improvement must be available in your application. So it means you have to have very good KPI and business intelligence report. If you don't have business intelligence report, if you just want to collect data, then there are many examples also. Yeah, we have data, we installed MES, we have data, but we don't know what is happening because there is no KPI for this data. So this is also meaningless. So without KPI or BI, don't buy any MES. It will be lost for you. Let's continue, Ferhan.
Okay. So this is the 6th slide. It's related to the pilot project, the POC, which we are talking about. It's for the 90-day run. It's 3 months period. So during this period, you need to implement this POC on a small scale, as discussed. You cannot go full scale at once. You have to try it. You have to check what benefits you have from the system. And during these 3 months, you need to monitor and collect data and try to make some improvements and check what challenges you may face. So during the POC, there is data collection, but you also need to get feedback from production. And based on this feedback, you can make fine tuning. There can be customization, because different type of industries, they may have different type of needs, different type of production style. So production, way of production. So that's why it's important to make this fine tuning and get the feedback from the employees which are involved. So at the end of this POC, you need to make an assessment on what is the impact, what are the effects of this POC, is it successful or not? So in order for you to define whether it is successful or not, you need to set these goals in the beginning. So if we go back to the first or second slide, that's very important, because you need to set what are your goals, like how much percentage you want improvement, what type of digitalization you want, do you want integration with ERP, do you want data from sensors, do you want also to make inventory visibility to increase it, or do you want to decrease the quality, and so on. So you need to set what are your requirements, what are your goals, so that you will be able to verify this POC, whether it is successful or not. So here is a question. How do pilot projects contribute to risk mitigation and smoother full-scale implementation? So how are the pilots important so that you can have a smoother full-scale implementation? So as we mentioned before, during the pilot, you are identifying what technical issues you may have, because in different productions, you may face different technical challenges which are specific to the environment. For instance, you may find that certain production lines or locations, they require additional hardware, additional connectivity adjustments, they require additional PLC so that you will be able to collect data. Maybe the PLC is not open, so you don't have any open ports, you have password protection. So maybe you will need to make some adjustments, and you may discover technical challenges. Another importance of the POC is that you will have training for the users. So users of the company will be able to have trainings, so they will be the employees will be able to adapt to the new system. So it will not just come from start as a new system, but you will be able to use it step by step. So you will have familiarity with the system, and the employees will be well prepared for the full-scale implementation. It's also important because you may, during the POC, there can also be workflow optimization. So in some cases, there can be some inefficiencies or bottlenecks. So during these pilot projects, these optimizations can also be done. The workflows can be changed, efficiency can be improved, and so on. So it's really important to have this POC because you will see many things which you didn't think of before. It's also important because you will get feedback during the POC. You will get feedback from end users, from all the teams which are involved, and based on this feedback, you can also make improvements. So you will have time during these 3 months to make integration, to make customization, to make improvements, to do all the trainings so that they will be ready for the full-scale implementation. So that's why it's really important to have this POC before you start with the full-scale implementation.
Let's continue another page.
Okay, so I'm continuing to the next slide, which is about training the employees, which is part of the POC also. So this phase is about transforming your workforce into digital champions. So they will be equipped with skills and knowledge to thrive in the digital age. So this program, which we are giving, we already have program, is more than just a training. It's an opportunity for also personal growth, professional growth. It's designed as a comprehensive curriculum. So we have different curriculums for APS, for MES, for maintenance, and we are doing these trainings for employees by using digital tools and systems. So here, it's important to highlight the benefits of digitalization for their roles and to demonstrate on how these will enhance their daily work. It will be much easier for them to perform their daily operations, like creating work orders or closing the work orders, because operators will close the work order just from one click, or they will log job, they will not use papers anymore. They will just have that on their screen, so they will execute it immediately. The upper management or other teams in production, they will not lose time for data entry. So all of these are important because they will use these trainings to enhance their daily workflow. So learning is an ongoing journey, and during this learning, we always provide support. So it's really important for the MES system that you will choose to provide this support. It should be just a click or a call away. We mainly have these Skype groups where different companies, when they need support, they just write and we reply immediately. So support is really important, whether by calling or having some chat groups. It's really important to provide this. Keep in mind that this, all of these trainings and this MES implementation needs to have a smooth transition, because you are transforming your what system you are having, and this is a change management. So this can cause some discomfort in the operators and also in other members. So they need time for this adaptation, and it's really important to give these trainings so that they will adapt easier. And also encourage the employees to share this feedback, because it's really important also to shape the system based on their feedback, and also make sure that you reward them with innovative solutions. For example, by using the data for the operators, you can check their performance. And if their performance is over 95%, maybe you can reward them. So this will also motivate them. When they get motivated, they will work more. So this will also increase your efficiency. So it's really important to keep your teams motivated.
I want to share one
Okay.
experience here. So if you keep this training not for 1 day or 2 days, if you keep this time to time, it's always good for the team motivation, and then they feel more secure. And also with the technology opportunities, new ideas are coming. So after they learn the system very well, time to time trainings. Let's say instead of having 25 hours training hours in 2-3 days, take it in 1 month, like every day 1 hour, 2 hours, and then they will digest what they learned. And after that, they will come with a lot of new idea, and they will also remember, we are doing actually like this, so it's matching with this part. They will talk among them. They will evaluate the features. So you will have more gain after it. So this training period must be time to time, not with 1 week everything. So if you do like this, then you have to pay for new trainings. So it is also extra cost, and also this is affecting your project success performance. You have to know one thing: your success, 70% of the success of this project depends to your team. Who is your team? This is your employee who will use this system. Only 30% success belongs to your MES provider. So 70% is your job, means you have to learn all these details, and you have to have a lot of trainings. That's why it should be with more different time zones, and small part by small part, because a lot of new things will come, and then your team, they don't have to be expert for the computer science. So just give them time, and then they will learn everything. So this is critical part. 70% of success coming from this side, actually. Let's continue.
Okay, thanks for the explanations. So the 8th slide, we have, by the way, 2 more remaining slides, which is 9 and 10. So we are currently at the 8th slide, and it is pinpointing the importance of integration of the data in the system. So it's really important to have a connected data environment. So you need to make integration with different systems. They may be different distributed systems, but it's really important to have an integrated system. And there you need to minimize these data silos to improve the decision making. It's really hard for the employees which are in different departments to use different type of systems. So that's why one hub of systems, it's much more beneficial, where you are integrated to all of them, and you are making decisions based on the data in one central system. So make sure that you don't have any problems with integration. You are testing the data flow, you are testing the integration thoroughly, ensure that you have data accuracy, reliability, and monitor the data connectivity, and resolve any issue, integration issues if you have. So by using this integration, you will eliminate manual data entry. That's why it's really important to have a flawless integration. So here is one question related to the integration. So what are the consequences if not testing data flow and integration thoroughly? So what happens if you don't do the integration correctly? So if you don't do it fully. So one of the important reasons is that you will have production delays because the MES cannot communicate with specific machines, or production schedules will be disrupted. So the operators need to confirm the work order, but if you have integration problems, if they cannot report to the ERP system, then the production will stop. You need to wait until you report, because you can.
Maybe just
probably Ferhan's connection just lost. Until he comes, I want to continue one part. For the data collection part, there are a lot of MES provider. They are saying, yeah, we are collecting data, but most of them is not coming with digitalization. So why this is important? So digitalization with the MES is important or not? So when we analyze first part, let's say data from your machine, there is a one status, machine status is standby. So when you have standby, there can be a lot of different kind of state in your machine. Let's say if it is in a production, and there can be one break, small break, and this break is not inside your PLC. So it means you have to add this break manually to your system if your PLC is not supporting this kind of stop. So what you will, even some PLCs are providing some stops, but it is meaningless stops. So you have to sometimes override these stops to make it more meaningful. So then that's why digitalization part is important. Let's say your machine in a standby, but this is with the production standby or waiting for a job. So this is another case also, but waiting for job or waiting for employee. And this is another case when you see only it's coming data from your machine is standby, but in reality, there can be different kind of state. So that's why you have to make your data meaningful. If there is no any meaning for your data, so it is kind of wasting investment from your side. Yes, I collect data, setup, stop from the machine, but what about setup over time? Your setup finished, then your plant, and you don't have still setup signals from your machine because you are trying time to time. It's not always setup signals, but you have to know still setup is going on. Let's say during the setup you have some scrap and some rework, and this kind of also statistic is very important for the company to understand like how much you are losing when during the setup. Another things, if you have a setup overtime means your planner is making wrong plan. So your actual setup, start finish is longer than the plan. So means you have to update your data. Another one is cycle time. Okay, you get your cycle, you planned, but your application must provide you for each material. So what is the actual cycle time? So this is also the data. What is your actual cycle time? If your application is not providing this data to you, so this is also wasting your money for the application. So the application must bring a lot of KPI metrics, and you have to monitor all this performance with your solution. Yes, Ferhan, welcome. Let's continue.
Sorry, I had a problem with internet, so I'm just right back. So Mr. Nuri was talking about this part, I suppose. So this is a question regarding like how well the KPIs and regular measurements contribute to increase productivity and efficiency in MES implementations. We will give a solution directly from our system and to show you what KPIs you can get and how they can contribute to increase productivity, efficiency. So these regular measurements is really important, and it will provide real-time insights for your production processes. So that's why it's important to measure the cycle times, what is the plan, what is the actual, what is your OEE, what is your equipment downtime, what are your quality metrics. So that's why we have these type of reports which provide you business intelligence. So I will just share the screen now to show some of them. Here is, for example, one of the screens. This is a detailed analysis of the production from our test environment. So here you can see, for example, the main stoppages which occurred during production in real time. So you see what are the main stoppages and why this machine had lots of downtime and what is the main one. Here you can see the percentage of the employees. Did they achieve what is the employee percentage? What is the workstation percentage? You can also check the progress of the work order. So this is the data from directly coming from the machines, which is executed by the job order, which was planned from the ERP. So this work order is coming from the ERP, and this data is being executed on the shop floor from the panels that we already have. So these are the panels. Let me show one by one. What are all panels? This is how our HMI screen looks. Here you can track the machine status, whether it's running or standby. You can track how many pieces have been produced till now and what stoppages have happened till now. So this is the screen where the operator interacts with it. He can load the work orders and he can execute the job order. And then when he finishes, he can write this data back to the ERP. So there is a bidirectional communication with the ERP where you read the production orders and you send the data back. But here, of course, the operator can also choose the stop reasons, but it's not chosen only by the operators. This data can also come from the PLC of the machines. So the stoppages, the downtimes can also come from PLC, but there are some stoppages which cannot be defined in the PLC, like launch pause or some other cleaning stops. So these ones need to be entered by operator. So the operator will just choose from here what type of stoppages he needs to select. Of course, there are some stoppages which are related to breakdown, which the operator can choose from here to create a notification for the maintenance team, or this can be detected by the sensors that we already have. So by this reading these sensors, by detecting the anomalies, the system can detect these type of problems that you may face in the machine so that it can send notification to the maintenance team. Here you can see that we can monitor both the performance of employee and workstation. So there are some stoppages which affect the employee performance, some of them which don't affect. So by this way, which I mentioned before, you can reward the employees if they achieve these high performance. So if their performance is higher than 90, you may give them some reward so that they will be motivated to work more, to have less issues which give you less efficiencies. So this is where we collect data, and this data is coming to this screen because previously I was showing the wrong screen. So this is our monitoring page where you can monitor all of these small screens which are on the shop floor. You can monitor it from the web application. So this is a real-time system where you can monitor what's going on production. As you see, some of them are waiting for labor, some of them are on setup, or maybe you have set up overtime. The system can indicate whether you have some overtime or not. You can see which work orders are also waiting for some component. The system can detect.
Yeah, this is important part. System is finding by itself because system is integrated with your ERP, and then system knows you have where is your stock right now, and there is also your MES somehow should support also your logistic. After that, you don't need to get some reports from your operator. Operator sometimes putting waiting for this material. That's why I didn't work. I didn't produce this kind of quantity. But if your MES is able to find this stock is where is this stock is there or not, then MES can put this stock automatically. So this is another added value and for your company.
This is also a screen which I was trying to show for real-time monitoring. You're seeing the progress of the work order, exactly which is coming from the ERP. You're seeing the downtime, the stoppages, and here also you can see the quality reasons, like what type of quality issues you have during this specific product, because all this data is also saved based on your product that you're producing and based on work order that you're producing. This data is also saved for the sensors. So we read the sensor data in real time, but also, as told before, we are constantly making analysis of this data in the background so that we can detect the anomalies, we can detect the trends, and if there is some deviation, the system can understand this and create notifications for the maintenance team. And here, for the maintenance, you can manage your maintenance orders in a digital platform. You don't need papers for it. You can create maintenance orders directly from this HMI screen, which is here. There is a maintenance button for it so that you can execute your maintenance orders from here. So you start the maintenance operation. Whenever you start it, the actual start is safe and you can track it in digital environment. But of course, there are also notifications which are generated automatically or by operators' presence. So if I come back to this screen, this part was where we show the data which is coming in real time. But more to this, we also have data which we create insightful report. We also have dashboards. So this is for daily analysis of the production and analysis of the states of the machine. So this data which is here is coming from the signals of the machine. But this data which is here is generated by the software. So it's checking whether your setup has some overtime or not. So if your setup was 30 minutes, but actual time was 45, so 15 minutes, you had some overtime. So the system is changing these states from setup to setup overtime. It's detecting these type of changes. You can track the status of waiting for quality or maintenance or for labor, or you may also have hidden losses, which are waiting for jobs. So this is showing that the machine was idle. It was not working, but you also didn't load some work order on it. So this is not an OEE loss. This is a TEP loss because you have a schedule loss. You didn't plan anything for that time. So the utilization of the workstation was not 100% for that day. If you are working for 3 shifts and during these 3 shifts, you can see this type of losses that your waiting time is more than 8 hours. So this means that your machine can work also for 2 shifts. No need to let it work for 3 shifts because you already don't have work orders to plan for 3 shifts. It can only do its work by 2 shifts. So that's why this type of statuses, which are software generated, it's really important to give you more insight for your understanding your efficiencies and understanding your losses. So now if we continue to the slide, here we have another code which is related to data, because we talk about data and we talk that it's really important. So in the world of manufacturing, opinions can lead to inefficiencies. They can lead to increased costs and missed opportunities. So that's why without data, you are just another person's, you are just another person with an opinion, as Edward Deming said. So it's the data that empowers us to make informed decisions, to pinpoint areas of improvement and to drive progress. So it's the compass that guides us toward a more efficient and productive and competitive future in manufacturing. So now we can continue to the last slide, which is continuous improvement. And here, as you see, from this picture, you can see that it's an infinite loop, actually, because we are driving you to get the idea that you need always to be in a continuous improvement. You need to embed this culture to your company so that your organization's DNA will have this culture for continuous improvement. You need to encourage employees to propose a process for enhancements. You need to regularly review data so that you will identify new optimization opportunities. So by checking the data, by checking the analysis which we provided previously, by getting this feedback from the data insights, you need to adapt new strategies so that you are always in a continuous improvement. You are always implementing changes to your company. And it's important to implement these changes iteratively. So for an ongoing improvement, it's important to do small changes one by one. So here is another question related to this one. It says how small and iterative changes they can lead to substantial improvements in real MES implementation. So why are these small changes and iterative changes important? So we have an example in one of our latest implementations. Data analysis revealed that there were many minor variations in temperature control, and during production phase, this was leading to high rate of defects because of the temperature. So rather than implementing a small change, like changing the machine or changing some big part of it, we decided to make some small iterative adjustments. So in order to make these iterative adjustments, you need to start with data collection. So by analyzing the data, by checking the trends, by checking the correlations, by identifying the patterns, like which temperature was causing what type of defects, which temperature was affecting which type of product. By identifying this, by analyzing data, we can identify different variations, and these variations are associated with higher rates of product defects. So by understanding that by which correlation there are more product defects, you can make some modification to the algorithm to make some changes, small changes, and by analyzing these changes, then you will have results. So by this type of iterative adjustments, we came to a rate to decreased rate of defects by 30%. So it's really important to make this type of, to implement this type of iteratively small changes to give you continuous improvement. So thank you so much for attending the webinar and for your presence during this time. We hope this was beneficial for you to adapt your strategies to implement this type of MES solutions if you are in a loop for this type of solution.